Do you wave your terrible towel when Renegade plays? Reach for a tasty cake when JJ shouts, "He scores!" Does the sound of an F1 engine make your heart race? Doing push-ups with the Nittany Lion after a TD? Then lend us an ear, and we will share the exhilaration of Steelers football, the excitement of Flyers hockey, the nail-biting finishes of F1, and the pride when we yell, "We are Penn State." Welcome to the SteelFlyers Show, the strangest combination of sports fandom since pineapple was put on pizza. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SteelFlyers All Sports Network, and we are joined by the great and awesome Pearlo Wisdom. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. Awesome.
Oh, yeah, man. And we got a special show for you here, folks. It's called What It Means to Be a Warrior. And we had to get into this because of some of the action that's taken place here over the last couple of days here, especially in the NHL. And this is one of Pearlo's favorite subjects, and I just had to capture this here, folks, because I have a couple of questions for the great prognosticator, and we're going to get into why the Toronto Maple Leafs lost to the Montreal Canadiens, which, let's face it, they gave up a 3-1 lead in the series. And then they pretty much gave up leads in every single game up until this Game 7 and even including Game 7. So we're going to cover some of that, and we're going to cover what it really means to be a Warrior. And Pearlo, I'll tell you, I would not want to be a Leafs fan.
I wouldn't want to be a Leaf.
I wouldn't want to be a Leaf either. No.
Yeah.
I don't. Everybody in the world picked Toronto to finally win their first playoff series in how long? And they were up against the weakest team in the North, the fourth seed, the team that if it would have been in any other division would not have made the playoffs because it didn't have enough points. Goes up 3-1, looks really good. Everybody's playing well. Everything's on track. Everybody's like, all right, they're going to take care of this next game. And it was 3-2, and Montreal won that Game 5. Right? And they were like, all right, well, okay, it was in Montreal, no problem. Right? Yeah. Or wherever, right? It was in Toronto, no problem. They're going to go into Montreal, and we'll take care of business. And nope, that didn't happen. We go to Game 7 now. This is in Toronto, right, for Game 7. And they were up, right, till the end of the second period. It was 3-1, I think, something like that. And then the Tires.
But in game 7, I think they were down pretty much the whole game.
They were down?
Didn't they? Yeah, they were down the whole game.
Okay.
Pretty much. I think they scored the first goal in that.
Okay, so
Montreal
what happened
back
in Game 7 here?
Actually, wait. It was 2-0. That's right. No, they were down the whole game.
They were down the whole game. All right, so, but Game 6, they were pretty much in the game. It was pretty much back and forth. It was a pretty good game. I really thought Toronto was going to pull it out and move on, and that didn't happen. So what happened in Game 7?
Well, I think the narrative, or what people are going to chalk it up to mostly, and I purposely haven't looked at all the things out there that, great other people that talk about Toronto games and stuff like that, is that Price won the series. I think that's what they'll chalk it up to. And he was great. Okay, Price was great.
He had to be.
Now, he was fantastic, no doubt about it. For sure, he was better than Campbell. Campbell let some iffy goals in there, no doubt about that.
That's true.
However, that doesn't totally account for the fact that Matthews, Marner, these guys are incredible shooters, and you got those guys to be able to score against Price when he's when he's relatively hot, and they looked. How do I explain it? They looked like exasperated out there, and I think the whole thing turned around right about the time that Tavares got injured and Perry had that injury. That shook the team. And oddly enough, usually when those things happen, though, a team will rally. Like
Yeah, because
we
that's their
both played.
captain.
We both played on teams before. If somebody like that goes down, the last thing you want to do is lose.
Yeah,
You know. But and the title of this is what it means to be a warrior. And I believe that the reason why Toronto lost is Montreal had Warriors and Toronto did not. And that is hard for me to
clearly.
say because they had Foligno, but Foligno was injured a lot in this.
Yeah, he didn't play
Foligno
very
was
much.
yeah. If they would have had Foligno all the way through, this might have changed a little bit. But Montreal had the Warriors and Toronto did not in this situation. They have to get a warrior mentality in there. And that could come from other players, bringing other players in, but it also has to come from their top players. If your top players are warriors, it's certainly a lot better. Gallagher, Perry
Yeah.
is not necessarily a top player, but he's a warrior. But Gallagher is.
I mean,
Montreal is a
even
totally
even
different
Shea
player.
Weber is a warrior.
Shea Weber, great example.
You know.
That Subban trade looks pretty good now, doesn't
Yeah, it
it?
does. But I mean,
But
but he has that. He has that mentality, though. You know, he has that mentality, right?
when he's on the ice, when Shea Weber's on the ice, you don't see him smiling with the opposition at
It's
all.
not a good time.
Especially,
Yeah.
yeah, I am going to rip you apart, and I'm not taking any prisoners, and I don't care what you think or how you feel or, whatever. I don't care. I'm here to win, and this is what hockey's about. I love him for that, and they've got a lot. Sherratt, even maybe at a lesser extent, but they've got guys like that in that room. Now Toronto's got all the talent over them,
Oh,
for sure. The
well,
skill level,
okay.
absolutely.
Uh, uh, if you remove Austin Matthews from Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
and then I guess to some extent Marner, if you remove those two players, if you remove their
Nylander. Nylander,
okay,
probably the best player in the series for them.
okay, but all I'm saying is if you remove Marner and Matthews,
Mm-hmm.
now you're looking at the same level of talent that what Montreal's putting out on the ice.
Oh yeah, maybe even less. I would say less if you do that.
So then
Yeah,
you
for
take
sure.
Nylander away too, and then now you're looking at
Oh,
about what Montreal's
yeah,
putting out on the ice.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So how do we take Matthews away even though he's on the ice? That's the question. And this is what playoffs are about. How do you take a player away even though they're on the ice? And I'll tell you right now, Corey Perry is your guy for that sort of
The
thing.
Islanders
No,
did it to Crosby and Malkin,
in a way,
right?
but in this situation, I Corey Perry can take players away if they are not mentally strong enough to be a warrior on the
Yep.
ice. Corey Perry will say whatever he has to say. He will goad you the whole game. And I am willing to bet, and this will never come out because what's on the ice stays on the ice.
Oh yeah.
That's what Corey Perry believes. This is what these guys like this believe. They believe that what we're doing on the ice is like a fantasy world. That it's a chess game of getting into your head to get you off your game. And I bet you he was goading Matthews the whole time, saying, "Yeah, you're nothing without Tavares, are you? You're nothing without Tavares. You are absolutely
I mean,
nothing."
I guess
The guy that accidentally need Tavares' head is saying to you, "You are nothing without Tavares," and Matthews crumbled. Matthews was more focused on the fact that Perry was willing to say that than playing for his team. And I know how I know that. I don't know if he said that, but I bet you he said something like that because at the end of the series, when Matthews is shaking everybody's head, he was shaking everybody's hand. He was happy with every single person. being, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's classy. That's great. You said what you said. You did what you did. You beat each other up. And now we're going to realize, this is what I love about hockey, that it's part of the game. Gets to Perry, doesn't say a word. And Perry sort of leaned in, waiting for him to say something.
Right.
He even grinded it even
Right.
more. He said, what are you going to say now, buddy? I was right. He grinds it even more, and Matthews doesn't say a word. And that's why Toronto didn't win that series.
Well,
Because Perry got in his head. If you truly do, if you're a warrior, you realize that on the ice, what Perry says doesn't matter. Well, you can't let that get into your head and start believing it or get offended or all that nonsense. If you're going to get offended on the ice, you're going to
yes.
lose.
See, what that should have done was, if that would have been like me or somebody, that would have lit a fire under my tuchus, to where I would have said, "Oh, so you think we're not good without Tavares? Well, let me show you how good we are without him."
Yeah, exactly. If Matthews was the one that took the knee to the head and Tavares was there, you think Perry's going to be saying that stuff to Tavares? Absolutely
No.
not, because the opposite's going to
Yeah.
happen. Tavares is going to raise his game, and he's going to get you by showing
Yeah.
you. And that's what Matthews has to learn. Perry would leave him alone. Now, Malkin, Perry will, why am I mad? Because Malkin's an
Yeah,
emotional
yeah,
dude,
but see,
man.
yeah, I've seen other guys get underneath Malkin already, and I see how it affects him.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
And so
So
if you allow
now
that to,
he's won cups though, so I mean he does get over it to a certain extent, but he's got Crosby there.
which
But
is why I think he's able to do that, because he does have Crosby there, and he's been on teams that have won cups. Because quite frankly, I
mhm.
think if he was on another team by himself doing that kind of stuff, that wouldn't wash.
No, it wouldn't. He wouldn't. He'd have to get over
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
He'd have to get
yeah,
over that because if you don't, you're not going to win cups, dude. Matthews, you're
yeah.
not going to win
Because that's
cups. I know
cost
you're
Malkin
watching.
penalties. He's gotten upset during games where he's taken dumb penalties to
Yeah,
do things to people that have gotten under his skin or
I,
whatever.
and I would rather see I'd rather Matthews do what Malkin did and take a dumb penalty or so show some angst towards the other team. Matthews didn't even do that. He just cowered and got offended until the end of the game and then said, I'm not talking to you. Oh, I'm not talking to you. I'm better than you are. No, you're not. You're not better. Perry leans in going, I am? Are you better? No, you're not. Okay, bye. That's what Perry does. Perry
Do you
is a
know,
freaking warrior. He'll
here's the
take it
sick
right to
part
the end.
about that whole scenario, right? Right? Here's the sick
Yeah.
part, right? Matthews is making $8.5 million a year now, or something stupid.
10. Oh, I think more than that. I think
Whatever.
11
Right,
something.
whatever. Right? What's
Mm-hmm.
Corey Perry make a year?
Not much
Right?
now. He's just
That's
minimum,
what I
I think.
mean.
He went to Montreal on the
Okay,
minimum.
so there you have it. Well,
He just wants to
that's
win a
all he
cup.
cares about, right? Okay, so
Yeah. Who do people hate on the Toronto Maple Leafs? Nobody. There's nobody on that team anybody hates. Who do people hate on the Edmonton Oilers? Maybe Cassian when he could play. Maybe. Besides that, nobody. Who do people hate on the Montreal Canadiens? Corey Perry. They have Gallagher. People respect Gallagher but hate Gallagher at the
so you're
same time.
saying,
They
so
have
okay, so then let me ask you this: who on Tampa Bay do you hate? I mean, okay,
Maroon.
so we don't hate these guys. We don't hate them.
It wasn't until they got
Yeah,
Maroon
that they started
on
winning.
the
Yeah, yeah.
ice. There's immature
When they
fans
made
that
that
think
trade last year to get him, that's what helped propel them to get that cup.
they didn't win a cup
That's what
until
I
they
mean.
got Maroons. They got Fultz. They got guys like
Right.
that. That's how they
Goudreau,
win
the
cups.
Barclay Goudreau, they got him too. You know,
Yeah,
those guys are all, yeah.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Okay.
And I should love that team. When we
I
talked
know,
about it, I
I know.
would have
Okay,
loved
so
it.
now who on Carolina?
That's the problem with Carolina. They don't really have that, and they need to find that a little bit. Maybe Fogel I mean, a little bit, but
Yeah,
not
you're right.
really.
They don't really have that guy. But
They
you know
do got
what
to get.
though, their team is that mentality. They have that
Sort of.
team is a warrior mentality for the team.
They had him when they had Williams. They
Okay, I
haven't been
see
able
what
to
you're saying
replace.
now.
They haven't been able to replace
That's
Williams
true.
yet.
They haven't. I
So
mean, Mr. Game 7. Hey, hey, can come on back. Hey, hey, lace
yeah,
him up. Come on. What?
I have to think about that. Slavin has an
He
edge to him like
does,
that,
and
though.
I like and ever since.
Slavin
But see
does.
now, I think you're not going to see any of that until he's back all the way healthy too. I don't think he's all the way back healthy, or he's just now getting back healthy, and you know what I mean, because he
Yeah,
missed that whole first series. I think. Yeah.
yeah. But they really need to get some yappy guys
All
like
right.
that.
Who?
Really,
What about Colorado? Who's that guy on Colorado? Is there?
wow, he's out for 8 games.
Okay. Yeah, which I believe his
that's
suspension was
that's the
the last I think I read was heard by Bateman.
Kadri. Oh yeah. Heard by Bateman.
His
Yeah, yeah,
appeal.
uh,
Yeah, his appeal
yeah.
was heard by Bateman. Great.
Batman, I
Yeah, or
should say.
whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Also, Johnson's out. They might be able to get away with it a little bit because they are. I think they're more powerful. We'll see what happens with Vegas because Vegas has got tons of those
Well,
guys.
okay, yeah.
Their whole team's mentality is that. That's
Right.
the reason why I took
Right.
Vegas.
Which
So,
is ultra
so
shocking. But then again, I look at it and I went, well, gosh, Colorado was sitting back going, hey, all right. Oh, our next opponent is 6 days away. All right. They were ready.
yeah, yeah,
Colorado was
yeah,
ready.
they were.
Okay, and so I'm
Yeah,
I'm really gonna be interested to see how this next game comes with
yeah.
Avalanche and Vegas because
I
if
yeah,
Vegas comes out
yeah.
and they just do what they did against them in that first game, then this is gonna be a short series.
I totally forgot. Like they hardly had any days off before
Well,
they played
Vegas
that
had
game, right?
one day off. That's it,
Yeah, that was stupid of me of thinking that Vegas was going to even come close. Oh my
right?
goodness. They got 2 days off now, so we'll see. We haven't seen it yet, so we'll see what
Right.
happens with that. But just getting back to the Leafs, though, I mean, and then Muzzin goes out, and he's probably the closest to that on defense. And so, yeah, they definitely need to get better on defense. They definitely need to get better, some depth, but they have to get Warriors. If they can bring back Foligno, I think if he's healthy, he's a start. But
Oh, and then
okay, enough with the Thornton.
obviously Tavares now because hopefully he'll be back next year.
Tavares, yeah.
Okay.
Tavares isn't that, but he's not going to be affected
Well,
by
okay.
that. That's the
Okay.
thing.
But
That's
he's
the thing.
also their
He's not going to
captain
be
too.
affected by it.
He's also their
Yeah,
captain and their leader.
right.
So when you
Yeah,
have that kind of guy going up there, being the guy that's not afraid to be in other people's faces to say, hey,
yeah.
or whatever the case is.
And calm the guys
Right.
down, like Marner, who was obviously, he's just getting absolutely crushed right now. Hey, if you guys want to trade Marner, go right. We're very happy here in Philadelphia and Edmonton to take him off your hands. The
How
kid
much?
had the. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot, but it's not happening. The kid just went through like playoffs in Toronto, and he was just obviously very nervous, and all of those sort of that can happen to the best players in the world, obviously. Like, and you don't have Tavares there to calm things down and all that kind of stuff like that, and it
and
affected him. They're all part of the learning process, and I know that's easy to say. As a Toronto fan, you don't want to hear this,
right.
and
And they're
I
all
don't blame you because it's been decades of
right.
disaster,
And they're
and it
also
really
pretty
sucks.
young up there too in Toronto. Matthews is only what, 24,
Yeah,
right?
same as 24. Matt Marner's
23.
23.
So, I mean, those guys are young.
Nylander's right around the
So,
same.
yeah.
Yeah,
They need some leadership up there. That's
absolutely.
clearly the
Yeah,
case.
and not Joe Thornton or And Spezza had a great series, and I don't know if he'll come back. He was something like that, but they just need more like that. Corey Perry's a free agent. Go get him.
It's funny that you mentioned that because when teams become warriors that weren't previously, like if you go back
Yeah.
to 2017, and was that the year that Tampa Bay lost bad to Columbus? Right, 2017, I think, or was it
Oh
2016?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
and
yeah,
after
yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah.
they went out and
Fuck
got the Maroons and the
him.
Goudreaus and the
Coleman.
yeah,
Coleman. All those guys are the guys you're looking
right,
for
okay. And
sure.
so
Yeah.
after they did that, then they win the cup in 2019 or whatever, right? So 2 years later, they win the cup. And
Yeah.
they're moving
Yeah.
on now. They're defending their cup now into the second round.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, and then all you have to do is look at all the other teams that have won the Stanley Cup, where you look at the St. Louis Blues. They were the warrior mentality. They when they
Absolutely.
won the cup, they had the warrior mentality. That was all about
Absolutely.
us against them.
Look at the players that they had on that team. They had like
I
warrior
mean,
after
even
warrior after
Binnington,
warrior.
even their goalie.
And you don't have to be big or anything. I mean, it's great if you are, but you don't have to be. Like uh, Shen has a warrior mentality. He's When they traded Shattenkirk before the
Yeah,
playoffs, he was in the media losing his freaking mind. We're just about to make the playoffs. He's practically crying out there. Now, the organization's like, we don't want this in public. But that's what you want. Somebody who is so engrossed into winning to that extent that they don't even care anymore that they're calling out their team or
yeah.
whatever. They're just there's that emotion, that warrior emotion, and he has it. And you love guys like that. Blake Coleman's a free agent, by the way,
Hmm,
Mr. Toronto Maple Leafs.
yeah.
Might want to give him a call. See,
And you know what
yeah.
else? You know what else is going to happen?
So is
Oh, I was
Barclay
just gonna
Goodrow.
say, there's gonna be quite a few guys on the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. They're gonna suddenly become available. You might want
Yeah.
to consider
Har-
some of them guys, because now those guys now all have cup experience, right?
Yeah.
They've all hoisted a cup, and look, we have touted players that are all about cup experience. We have talked about how we want players to have that on the team. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So
Yeah.
you want to have
Sure.
those guys, and if you can get those
Yeah.
guys, then that's all the more power to you. You know what I mean?
I'm, if I'm the Leafs, I'm all over Coleman if I can. I'm hoping they don't, and Edmonton gives him a call because we need him big time. Guys like that is exactly
All you
what we
have to
need
do,
on every
all
team
you have
needs
to
guys
do,
like
man,
that.
is look back at all the last couple of years of the teams that have won the cup. When Chicago was winning, they were a physical,
Oh,
hard hitting,
Taves,
right? Physical, hard hitting team. Patrick Sharp, all them guys down there, right? The whole 9 yards, right? When Chicago was winning,
Taves, Ladd,
yeah.
Bufflin.
I mean,
I mean, you want to see? Do you think they care what you did? They hurt your
when
feelings on the
Pittsburgh
ice?
when
No,
Pittsburgh was winning the
no.
cup, when Pittsburgh was winning the
Yeah.
cup,
Now they're one of probably the most crap. They had a ton of skill, but they still had guys that did that sort of work.
exactly.
Rick Tocchet,
They had
they
they
had
had
for a short amount of time. Mark Recchi.
no, no, no. I mean, in the last couple of years, when they've won their Stanley Cups, in the last couple of years, those teams have been physical. Their defenses have been rather physical with other teams. That's how they were able to win. Yes, they
Crosby
has become
himself.
more physical.
Did you hear Crosby yap? See Crosby yapping on the ice all the time? You want to know what he's saying, man? I'll tell you right now, it ain't
I'm
nice.
sh-
Crosby's
I'm
not
sure it's
nice.
not. And
Crosby's not a
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
dude
I'm sure it's not.
on the
I'm sure
ice.
it's not.
On the ice. Yeah. And McDavid is learning that. Finally, the last game of this series, you saw McDavid. He was calling out his teammates, and when he was on the ice, he was starting to yap. That's what I want to see. If you're going to be a leader, Matthews, go back at Perry. I would have rather him taken a penalty and punch Perry right in the freaking head right there. Oh, yeah? Here. Then I'll come back and score a couple goals while I'm at it. But first, this is what I got for you. You know, he's got the ability to do it. He's a big boy. There's no reason why he can't give Perry a good shot to the head. There's no reason for it
I
at
mean,
all. Let the
the
guy.
referees
Perry's
the
not a.
referees are definitely putting the whistles away. That's for sure. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And the referees hear what Perry's saying the whole game. You wonder why. Hey, they don't call that. Why didn't they call that? Because that person was an idiot, and the refs heard it. Said crap to a guy that goes over the line. That's not over the line on the
Yeah.
ice. But they're still like, hey, if you're gonna talk like that, all right, the guy's gonna come back. You know. So I'll tell you, it's the way it is. That's the game of hockey that I
Yeah.
love.
I mean, but that's the stuff that you don't hear because, as a fan or whatever, you're way up here or way in the, you're watching in the stands or whatever the case is. And then even as an
Yeah.
analyst, you don't get to hear that because you're not down there on the ice either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
But
unless
if
you're
you
in the locker
played,
room, and you're talking to these guys straight up, they'll tell you. If you ask them, they'll
yeah.
tell you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, but if you played,
that's
you
what I
know
mean. Yeah,
what's going
exactly,
on out there.
exactly. And what's really cool is that when you talk to people that have played, you know, they have a whole different perspective on, on things. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because
of course.
when
Yeah.
you've laced it up, when you've strapped it on, when you've put your finger in the dirt, when you've taken a shift in anger,
Yeah.
when you've done all those
Totally.
things, that's a whole different ball game than sitting up there watching it.
Yeah.
Because
My wife watches the hockey and says, "Did you do all that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I couldn't imagine because I'm like very peaceable,
yeah,
loving person to everyone,
oh, the big teddy
right?"
bear,
She
oh.
goes, "I couldn't imagine you being like that." I go, "Put some skates on and put it on the ice, and you'll see." There's something about that
Actually,
competition. As soon as you go on there, that just
I'm kind
totally
of
changes you.
glad that because I get the same question too. Did you used to do that? Yeah, I used to do that. Well, what were
Yeah,
you like as a player? Oh, you don't want to know because I had the I had the I was in game mode. So, like I said, man,
yeah.
I didn't care who was on the other side. You were the mortal enemy, and I was coming to take care of you.
That's the way, and that's what the game is. There's something in our DNA that loves to
Yeah.
do that sort of thing. And I just want to, if we're before I say this, I'm not saying Matthews has to really actually punch the guy in the
No, we're
head.
not
I'm saying that,
advocating
but
violence by any stretch of the
no,
word.
what I mean by that is some people don't have that personality. If you want to know a guy that was a warrior that didn't have that personality, was Shane Doan. Although he did fight every once in a while. And actually, that's not a good example. But he never said anything bad about anybody, even on the ice or anything
That's
like that.
true.
But Shane Doan never let it affect him. If you're not going to be the
Uh,
guy that does that,
Consummate
you
professional.
can't let it affect you on the ice, and that's where Matthews has
Yeah,
to get
he's the.
mentally. He let it affect him, and that
That's
was
the
the
key.
problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the key. That's the key right there. Is that
Yeah,
he let it affect him. Well, we think that look, the whole world picked Toronto to win this, and they obviously fell short a little bit on this. So
yeah. I know a couple of people that picked Montreal for that very reason.
yeah,
Great cap,
unfortunately, I wasn't one of them,
great,
and
great hockey
yeah,
guys that picked
unfortunately,
Montreal.
I wasn't one of them. So this kind of
I wasn't
yeah,
either.
yeah.
I picked
I,
one.
I looked at Toronto and then I looked at Montreal and went, oh gosh, this has been Toronto's to lose since pretty much the beginning of the season.
Yeah. There was only one time when I started to think Montreal might have a chance, and I thought that coach did a really good job of when he played his veterans the first game, and
He
I
did
said that I
say
think
he
he's
did come out and say
I
that.
I think that he's doing it for the team mentality of everybody being. That's very important in the playoffs. You don't want these veterans sitting on the sidelines thinking they're not important. You want them to be all in, all part of this. And when you bring the kids in, the veterans are like, okay, they're behind it, nothing like that.
Yeah.
That was a really, I was unsure about the move, but looking back on it, it was a great move. Give him
Yeah,
credit for that.
because you brought that up, and that was something that a couple of us had questioned. I mean, I know I could kind of question that. Why didn't they bring in at least Kakanyemi, because he had experience from the previous year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm. I
Oh,
don't,
apparently
I
it
don't,
didn't matter because they didn't need him until the last.
because they wanted the leaders
That's
to
why I
lead to
sit on this
show.
side of the microphone.
They wanted the leaders to show what a warrior mentality looks like, and Montreal had it. Stall. He's not good enough to play right now, but he can show you what it means to be a warrior. And those guys. That's the reason why they put those veterans in at that
Yeah,
time, for that reason, to show these
yeah,
kids this is what it means. We're going to war here,
yeah,
kids. We're going
yeah,
to war. So, and they
yeah.
did, and you got to give them
And
credit.
they came out victorious, and so now Montreal's going to play a Winnipeg team now that's been sitting for quite a few
Yeah,
days. And
yeah,
this ought to be interesting because I think they're going to give Montreal what 1 day now, I think, and then they're going to schedule.
yeah. I think Winnipeg's going to win the first one, but we'll get into that. So I'm not making that same mistake I did with the Vegas game.
Right. Because
Yeah,
whoo, oh my, that was
that's too much. After all that emotion and stuff like
especially,
that,
yeah,
I think
Game
Winnipeg
7 for
won.
Minnesota the previous night. Like, yeah, that was, I knew that was going to be an ugly game. But well, look, that's the nature of the NHL playoffs. I mean,
Mhm.
this here is this is the whole definition of what it means to be a warrior is making it to the NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay? Because teams, especially now that you're into the second round, okay? Now
Mhm.
you've played that first round, okay? You've the whole season is behind you now. You've played that first round. Now you're starting to get into the meat of things now. Cuz now's where it's going to be, this is who we're going to find out who we are. Okay?
Mhm.
And if you're not going to be able to come up to the task, then you're not going to be able to move on. You know what I mean? And this
Mhm.
is these are my favorite parts of the NHL playoffs is these rounds right here. Because I think this is where some of now obviously the semis and the finals are obviously, you know, the best teams, but teams are not quite all the way worn down yet. You know what I mean? And then you've had some teams now that have been sitting and resting. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So this is where I want to see how things are going to go here for this second round.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll
It's
see who's got the
it's
Warriors.
already started out that way. You know what I mean? So for sure. But we wanted to break down a quick reason why Toronto lost and why Montreal's
Yeah,
holding on, and we called that what it means to be a warrior. And we might have
yeah,
some more of these later because this
yeah,
is a nice little
sure.
series here. I like the name of this because I can think of some
Yeah,
other players that we could think of that are warriors that are not just on
yeah,
hockey, but on our other
yeah,
teams too, that play on other
yeah,
sports. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Absolutely. I can when I think when you play, you identify that. I think people do in general in all sports. You can tell like this team, and like I said, it comes in many fashions. I consider Brady a warrior. Brady was a warrior. The guy, he was extremely skilled, but it takes more than that to do what he did.
I'll tell you what, who I think is
He was a mental
who I
giant.
who I exemplify to me as one of the greatest warriors to strap it up in the modern era is Troy Polamalu.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah,
he's already got it halfway licked. He's Samoan already. So, I mean, he's already starts with Samoan warrior mentality already. But to
yeah,
watch that guy play, I mean, my goodness. I mean, he's going into the Hall of Fame. It boggles the mind that the
Yeah.
way this guy played. I mean, he was on the
Yeah.
sidelines going, "Give me the ball, coach. I'll run it in for you. What? Come on."
Yeah.
He wanted to.
Yeah.
So that to me is one of the greatest Warriors. Brian Dawkins, I think, is another one. He played for the Eagles,
Yeah.
right? He was another good one too. You know what I mean? So
I mean, you could go on and on and on. Probably the biggest one I saw was in hockey, I suppose. I don't know. I just off the top of my head, I'm sure I could think of many, many more that maybe even top him was Chris Pronger. I
oh
never saw,
man,
I never, I never saw a guy take no prisoners like that. Like
I
he's,
had the distinct honor and privilege of watching this cat play in real life.
oh
Okay,
yeah,
because he played a couple years for the Flyers, and he was the captain and everything. And I remember that game watching where he got hit in the face with the puck. Now,
hmm,
I had been to some hockey games already. I had been to some football games, and I had been to some other sporting events in my life, but never in all of my years did I ever hear a player call out in pain when they got injured.
yeah, yeah,
And when he got hit with that puck,
yeah,
the entire building was instantly silence because you heard him scream out in pain. I've never seen that in my life.
hmm,
Never seen that in my life. And when you see the guy now, and he's all like, he still has some issues and stuff, as far as like his vision and everything. But for the most part, he's still trudging on. Now he didn't play much after that, but that's a warrior, man,
yeah,
right there. You get hit like that, and
oh yeah,
silence a 20,000 stand building capacity building.
hmm,
That's a warrior in my book. So there you go. That's what it means to be a
yeah.
warrior. We're going to continue on this series. I have a feeling we're going to have a couple other featured players and teams on this series, though, that's for sure. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm your host, Steel Flyers, and we've been with the Great Pearlo Wisdom. Pearlo, how can we follow you? Where can we get all your stuff?
SteelFlyers.com. That's where you can find everything. You can check it out. It's a growing, huge website that is growing every day. We have some kind of celebrity type people following us, like Jim Jackson and stuff like that, for good reason. It's amazing content. Go check it
For
out.
sure.
You won't be
For
disappointed.
sure. Check it out, man. Thanks, Pearlo.
And the Pearl Wisdom Show, which is going to be on in what, three
Couple
hours,
hours, yep.
something like that. Couple hours,
3 to 5
three to
Eastern
five east.
every day. Perlo's here Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 with the great NHL Perlo Wisdom Show, man. So you got to check that out. Please hit the like and
Absolutely.
subscribe. Let us know what you think about all this great content because we love to know what you guys think, and that's what helps us to bring out such great content. Thank you very much for watching us, and just remember, folks, stay safe, stay strong, and hang tough.